I was already 45 years old, had been divorced from my ex-husband for several years, and was living alone. I loved my job, was active in sports, attended exhibitions, and enjoyed life to the fullest. My days were full, but deep down there were moments of quiet longing, a desire for something more, something I couldn't define. I had a beautiful daughter, Emily, who had recently married a wonderful guy named Andrew. Their happiness filled me with pride, but also reminded me of how long it had been since I had experienced love myself. Andrew was no ordinary son-in-law to me. From the very first moment I saw him, I couldn't take my eyes off him. His presence lit up the room. Andrew had a great sense of humor, was intelligent and sincere, and had a casual charm that made people gravitate toward him. I never thought I would be open about my feelings after all. He was my daughter's husband, and I was old enough to be his mother. Still, I couldn't help but notice how he seemed to genuinely enjoy my company, laughing at my jokes and engaging me in conversations that seemed far more personal than they should have been. When Emily and Andrew came to visit for a long weekend, I was determined to be on my usual behavior. I focused on creating a warm and friendly atmosphere, keeping things light and casual. We spent the entire first day together talking, laughing, and sharing stories. Emily recounted her recent adventures, and Andrew complimented her with his anecdotes. The more time I spent with Andrew, the more I was drawn to him. His laughter was infectious, his intellect sharp, and his kindness genuine. But of course, I knew it was wrong. I couldn't take any steps that would disrupt the happiness of my only daughter. They planned to stay for 3 days. On the second morning, Emily announced that she was going to visit her old friend Laura, whom she hadn't seen in 3 years. She assured me she would only be gone for a couple hours, but knowing Laura's penchant for long conversations, I was sure they wouldn't be back until the evening. Thus, Andrew and I were left alone for the day. We spent the morning in the living room, sipping coffee and talking about books and movies. Andrew's ability to listen and offer insightful ideas made the conversation flow easily and casually. I found myself opening up about my life in a way I hadn't done in years. After lunch, we moved to the garden where the warm sunlight and the scent of blooming flowers provided a serene backdrop. However, I was not at all calm inside. My emotions were bubbling, a mixture of guilt and desire. Andrew was so handsome and charming that I could hardly contain myself. The age difference between us was so great that it added to my confusion. That evening, Andrew noticed that the faucet in the kitchen was leaking and offered to fix it. I watched him at work, sleeves rolled up, and a focused expression on his face. The sight stirred something deep inside me. Without thinking, I walked up behind him, my heart pounding in my chest. I turned him to face me, and, on impulse, kissed him. To my surprise, Andrew didn't pull away. Instead, he wrapped his arms around me, and in that moment, all the boundaries we were supposed to honor disappeared. He led me to the bedroom, and for a few fleeting hours, we gave ourselves over to the feelings we had suppressed within ourselves. Time seemed to stop. I didn't think of him as my son-in-law. He was just Andrew, kind, considerate, and mine for that brief moment. As we lay together afterward, the reality of what had happened began to clear. A storm of emotions raged inside me, guilt, confusion, and a strange sense of fulfillment all at the same time. In those moments, I allowed myself to feel something I hadn't felt in years. As the night wore on, however, the weight of our actions pressed harder and harder on my conscience. I knew it could change everything, and the thought horrified me, but I couldn't bring myself to regret the bond we'd shared, however fleeting.